live show with the Minotaur and the Power Law team. I am here with Costa and Marcos from the Minotaur team.
Hi, everyone.
Hey,
Hello.
and we are going to analyze the market. We are going to do the usual thing. We start with kind of an overview using the Power Law. Look at where the price is relatively to the Power Law. We have new indicators that tell us something about the dynamics, not just the price. And then we go deeper and look at the liquidity, what the liquidity chart tell us, and maybe even what our trading system based on the power law is doing at the moment. Okay, so let's start. I will share my screen. Just a second, I need to click on the graph I want to show you. Okay, so this is the chart that I'm showing you right now. It has two panels. The first one is the power law. I like this graph because it's very minimalist. It has the main power law that is the red curve. It's stronger than ever. It's holding all the way since 16 years. Now, this is a reference, and there is always some misunderstanding of what represents, right? It's a price where over a long period of time we gravitate towards, right? We can use the word attractor, that is uh, what we use sometimes to describe, uh, some kind of, whenever you have this is a language that comes from complex systems, when you have so at a certain point, physicists discover these systems that are very difficult to predict. You cannot, for example, like the weather, right? You cannot predict exactly what something does in a system like that, differently from, let's say, a satellite, where you can tell exactly moment by moment where it's going to be. But it's always some noise, even in a satellite, because the gravity of the Earth is not perfectly uniform or whatever. But it's much more precise than predicting the weather, right? And and you could say, well, we cannot say anything about the weather. And actually, over time, we are becoming better and better in predicting the weather. And one of the concepts that people develop with these complex systems, these are we call them, and our thesis is that Bitcoin is such a complex system, is that there are things that you can actually predict. And one of these is these areas. So you can, you have what is called a parameter space. You can describe different parameters. In this case, we're describing price and time, right? Um, and the system tends to go towards these attractors. So these are regions. It doesn't occupy randomly everything in this space. It tries to go, most of the time is spent in these regions that are called attractors. This is something very similar where the power law represents some kind of attractor. So we are mostly below it or above it, but we tend to go to it, right? What is even more interesting that many people don't discuss, in fact, I think it deserves more thinking, is that you can see even when we leave a reference line and we move upwards or downwards, then there are these sudden changes, and then for some time we still follow along the power law, at least in a parallel fashion, right? Maybe we are not along the reference line, but we are still going up. That is something that many people don't realize. They don't think we are still following the power law because we are only thinking about this red line, but actually we are, most of the time, most of what Bitcoin does, it's actually to follow the power law. It will not be true that we follow power law in time if that was not the case, right? So even in these regions where we leave a reference line, we move in terms of changes, right, along the power law. And you can see that is happening here, is happening even here. So even right now, we're moving along the power law. And this is also shown by this second panel. So this, what this second panel describes is a new quantity that I define. First of all, many times I mentioned this thing that they call the slopes, the local slopes. So basically, what you can do because the power law um, predicts some kind of a decay of a returns. It's a function. You can write an equation. Then you can take what are called the returns. The returns is you can express them as difference in price, but I like them to express them in terms of ratio, right? So if you take the price today and you divide it by the price yesterday, it's a ratio that tells you if we went up or down, right? If it is above one, we went up. If it is below one, we went down. And then, but these returns decay in time because that is part of a prediction of the power law. We had, several years ago, we could have made like 2 or 3 times a year, for example. Right now, we are closer to 40%. And it will take almost 20 years to go down 21%. So it's a decay. It's a relatively slow decay, but it's a decay. So you can correct for this decay. And then you have these, what I call normalized returns. Or if you follow the math, it's actually the slope of a power law. It's the local slope. It's the slope at every single day. And you can track it, and it gives you a good feeling. So in this case, it's not just the slope, actually taking the mean of a slope, and then I divide it by the variance. It's similar to this quantity called Sharpie that people use in finance that measure how good trading strategy is, because you want to minimize the variance, right? So how big these changes in the price are, and you want to maximize the average. And if you take a ratio, it tells you how good things are going for that type of investment, right? So when we are in a red region, probably we have a lot of variance, but also a low average. When we are in this green region, we have a big average. So, we are in a winning streak. But, if that winning streak was going crazy, like up and down, it will reduce it. So, it's very high, like here. See, it's very high because we got it's a kind of optimization between these two quantity. You want consistent gains, and when you have consistent gains and not much variance, this quantity goes up. It's a signal to noise ratio, but it's based on the power law, power law characteristics. So it's really interesting because it seems that this was kind of a local minima, right? This region, we know we went down all the way to even what I think we reached the 55s, and then since then we recover. So it's not just a question of the price going up, but also the returns being consistently positive over time. And it was interesting because a few days ago we were kind of not sure if we were going to cross this region. This region separates the bearish mode, that is this red region, and then we have a transition, right? So the transition down is marked in yellow, when transition up is marked in blue. We are not yet in the green region, that is the bullish region, but we are going there, right? You see, we are starting to get some signals that actually we are going towards the bullish region. So it's pretty cool. There are a lot of good signs. I know that it was painful when we had this big correction, but the beauty of Bitcoin that it recovers, right? Over time is doing what it's supposed to do. So far, the power law is very strong, stronger than ever. It's not just a question of being closer to the reference line, but also continuing to move, because see, these moves up, right? We, of course, we like to be there because it's kind of the middle, right? It's now this crazy bullish region that many people get excited about, but then we always correct from. So actually, it's nice when we move along the reference line. But we can go there with a couple of crazy corrections that happen usually very fast, right? Some short mini bull run. What is important, but most of the time, actually, when people say most of the time Bitcoin doesn't do anything, they are wrong. They don't understand Bitcoin when they say things like that. It's not true. Bitcoin, most of the time, moves along the power law. And it can look to people, nothing is happening, simply because they don't realize that is a long-term trend, right? And so going from here to there looks like nothing, but actually it's what is programmatic, what is Bitcoin likes to do over time. So I take it as a good sign that the engine is still running, that everything is moving along. So we can still go back to the reference line when it's time to do that with a couple of, these moves took just few days or maybe even a week, but they were very instantaneous. So how they can go down, they can go up. But in the meanwhile, we don't want to stay stationary. We want to move along the power law, and we do because our goal is the long-term trajectory, and that is unbroken. Anyway, this is my analysis using the power law tools, and so now we can look at the more local type of behavior that is what the liquidity tell us. And I'm sure there are a lot of convergence between what I'm describing and what Marcos is going to describe now.
Okay, let's see what is going on in the land of liquidity. Liquidity moves price, price moves liquidity. They're one and the same. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see that.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, let's see what's going on here. Uh, so, just as a backdrop here, background, we are in a current consolidation zone here. We had a major liquidation event that occurred on about the 5th of February. We went basically straight down. We had a massive drop. We came out of a previous accumulation from a previous massive drop that occurred on the 15th of November. So we've just been consolidating, discovering lower, and this all started off the 125.26 high in October. And then we've been discovering down, consolidating down, and that's what officially got us in this bear market, this last one here that we're in now. These consolidations are very predictable because when you take out massive amounts of liquidity, then the market consolidates to digest that move and create a new auction. So auction market theory, we go from balance where buyers and sellers and the market maker participants, commercial participants tend to agree, they consolidate the price, then they rebalance, and then they discover a new value area after liquidations occur. So the price goes through these consolidations to build up the exit liquidity that's needed for the next move. So let's take a look at the one that we're in now. Massive amount taken out. There's not a lot left on the board right now. Um, we're kind of getting to the bottom of it now. This liquidity that remains down here at about 50K to 40,000. This was created in 2024, quite a while ago. So we don't necessarily have to come there. There is a big void between the liquidity levels. Price tends to not go through these voids because it needs that liquidity for fuel to take it there. We are currently, just as a background, we are in a there's a old volume profile value range that started in 2024. Let me go over here. You can see it here. This is our 2024 range. We're back in that range now. And what tends to happen in these profiles are when we enter back in them, you rotate through the range. So we were in it, but we haven't rotated through the range. So that is confluent with the liquidity that is building up from this current consolidation. That could take us probably between 59 and 56,000. That's the low I'm looking for. That's what the liquidity is telling me. So let's zoom in here and take a closer look at what's happening right now, because we're actually going up and what is causing that. So I believe before we can get into it, we're in a bear market technically. So we're in this bear phase, which is, let's look at the consolidation also timing wise as well. The previous one, we were in it for 72 days or so. So let's see where that puts us. What day are we at now? We're at day 36. 72 puts us around the mid to end of April. And then that doesn't mean we're going to go straight up, but at that particular time frame, what I'm looking for is that we would more than likely, let me hit the wrong key. Sorry about that. That we will more than likely sweep this liquidity that's down here, tap this level, sweep the liquidity, then we're ready to start moving up. But right now, what we're doing now is we're in this consolidation. There's a local profile here, and we're at the top of that range. And there is some liquidity here. There's an old key resistance level here, the previous value area that we were in. And that also fills the range. What the price typically likes to do after a major liquidation, it likes to go back and fill that zone. So let me just take off the 3 so you can see the pools a little bit better. So we can come back to this and refill the zone. So what the price does, it creates a pivot, it consolidates in there, and it refills the zone before it moves out of the zone. So right now we're in this current zone here, and refilling the zone could take us probably to about 77, 75 to 82 to refill this zone. So we have that, and that looks like what we're planning to do now is possibly refill that zone. This would be so the zone goes to about 77, but it could go as high as 82 because there's major resistance. I'm going to show you that right now. If we get in this area here, that would be a massive bull trap. Everybody and their mother's going to get bullish. The bull market is back on. We're out of the woods. And just like it did over here, it filled the zone. It recaptured that old liquidity zone, it refilled the zone, and then went straight down from there. Created a bull trap here in the previous one. So the market likes to rhyme. It does the same thing differently. So we could look to come back in this zone again, tap this level, and then hit that new low later, which would be a massive bull trap. So watch out for that. So let's take a look in this liquidity area here. Let's see what's going on in there. So I'm going to drop down to the 4 hours so we can get some details. So what we're doing is we previously had everybody got excited here a couple of weeks ago on the 4th of March, where we took out a lot of 25X, then we came back into the zone, and then we consolidated for a while. It looks like we're moving back out. We have some exit liquidity to get us up here. Like I was saying, here's that 82 level up here at the top. Let me move this out of the way. There's the 82 level in this area here as we refill this zone. So we have liquidity there. So that's the 25. Let's look at the 10. The 10 is a little bit further out. We have liquidity there to keep us going. Let's look at the 5. Same thing here. There's a massive amount of 5 sitting right at that level. If we go for that, it's up here as well. So we have plenty of liquidity if we can work our way up there to take. So let's look at it again. There's a lot of 10 right here. So we've already starting to tap the 25, right? The 25 is the closest. We'll be getting that tonight or sometime tomorrow. Be looking to take that. If we get past the 25, then we can look to get the 10X. There's a lot of liquidity there. And then it'll take a while to digest all that. But if we can get past the 10, about 77, that gets us to the top of the liquidity pool that we got down in here on. And then ultimately, if we can reach the 5, that's the last of the Mohegans, and we can tap that major resistance level, and then that sets that bull trap. If we get through all 3 of those, that'll be the biggest bull trap you want to see. But we'll see. We'll take it one level at a time. For right now, we're tapping the 25, then we get to the 5. And I'm sorry, we get to the 25, then the 10, and then the 5 would be the big prize. If we can get up there, that gets us all the way to 82. And then you look for a major reversal from there. All right, that's
Interesting.
that's the fried chicken zone right there.
It's
All
good
right,
to
uh-huh.
it's good to have a clear analysis of the short-term price movement, I think, because I do think people might get a little bit too excited on that recovery. And I agree with you. And even with the geopolitical things going on, is that the roof can fall down very, very quickly. And I agree. I don't think this was going to be a V-shaped recovery either. Once it broke 80, it's really broken structure. So I think this is a really clear analysis and a very cautious one too. So
like here,
I
this
like
is how we use liquidity as our edge, our predictive edge. Like I can remember here in our trading desk group members, everybody was really scared here, but we were sleeping good at night because we knew this was just a liquidity sweep on this external liquidity here. And we can kind of detect almost to the dollar where it's going. So once it did that, it reversed, got back in the range. Then everybody and their mother got bullish. All the influencers, talking heads, YouTube pundits, and people that want to be important were saying this thing is going to the moon. We were sleeping like a baby. We weren't worried because we knew that the market was kind of running on this 25 first and not really getting outside of that. That's what it typically does anyway. So we caught this top, we shorted that. And here we are again coming back through the 25, but we already know the max targets where they are at, right? Where this thing is going to play out. It's going to hit this. This zone is so concentrated. When it hits that, that's going to be so much liquidity that will topple the market. It's already bearish. Doesn't need much to reverse it. So if we manage to get up here, that's going to suck everybody in. And it's just, we'll be looking for shorts up there. We won't be caught in that hype. So yeah, it gives us a real edge on things. All right, guys, that's my 2
Costa,
cents.
do you want to show some of the moves of a trading system?
Yeah, let's just have a look.
Yeah, let me stop. All right.
Yeah, so this was this one. You might have to just approve my screen. Can you guys hear me okay? It's raining quite loudly outside. You can hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right, cool.
Great.
So this algorithm, or the settings that we're running on this one with the tighter TP, did really well to get out here, right? This was kind of the saving grace for these settings. I think the TP on this one was around 2%, so quite tight. And as you can see, perfectly bought the dips here and managed to get out and reset. So this has been tracking along really nicely. As you can see there, nice trades, take profit, some more nice trades, take profit. And now we're just moving through these zones, basically just harvesting volatility. This is really where Minotaur does best, down at these levels. The reason is that most of the downside has already, or the downside risk has completely gone. From these levels, we could deviate all the way down to 30K, 20K with no problem. The real problem is when you buy really, really high and it takes a lot of time to get out of the trade. You can kind of see the evidence of that there, that it goes all the way back to this trade from the 14th of Jan. But that's just part of the game, right? It's not always going to trade quickly. It's not always going to do what you want. But the reality is that when these moves happen, there's these huge movements and then we take profit here like that. This is the biggest payday by far. So the patience actually pays off in dollar amounts or Bitcoin amounts, depending on what you're doing. It just takes time. The other thing that, I think I said this last week, is that when the market is extremely bearish, the funding rate is extremely low. It's only extremely high during bull markets. So it's actually quite cheap relatively to have an increased size position that's increasing at these bottom levels. So the analysis that we've been doing has just shown that holding out these positions is not really that much of a problem. The one thing you just got to focus on is risk management. And, power law around 52K, I think that's showing there for a reason. This is one of our algos. So again, we're that's different. We're well below, well above that. But having reset at 71K would be DCAing well below 52K anyway. So again, very safe right now to get started trading with the Minotaur algorithm. If you've already got the algorithm, you're stuck in a trade, it's a great time to open up another bot because you can just see how much advantage you can take right now. We tend to perform best when the market is in the lower quadrant of the power law bands. And this is exactly where we are now. So again, great time to buy Bitcoin, great time to apply the algorithm to that Bitcoin if you want as well. That's all today, guys, on that.
One other point just to add to what you were saying earlier is not only are you taking profits in a down market where some other individuals that may be buying just spot or buying at the high, they have to wait maybe 9 months or 6 months or 3, 4 months for the market to fully recover to the previous prices. Whereas the algo was able to take profits on a much lower rally point,
Yeah.
right? And then on top of that, another purposes, your new basis, your new leverage more than where it was. So the algorithm resets the capital at that new much lower basis, right? Or price point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And guys, if you are interested more in the trading system, we are organizing a webinar focused on
Yes.
that. So stay tuned because we will announce when this webinar is there, and it will be interactive. You can ask questions, if you have any doubts, etc. In a context that is more dedicated to the trading system more than just analyzing the market in general. So we will
Yeah,
let you know.
absolutely.
Anyway, yeah, we wanted to keep it short, like to give an update on everything. So, um, we can do this on a regular basis every week. I don't see many questions. Today is relatively quiet, maybe because the market is also relatively quiet. So, you
Well,
guys want to make any further comments or observations? Because otherwise,
No,
we can.
just keep an
I
eye on
think they're
things and
quiet.
stay safe, everyone.
I
Yeah,
think they're quiet, Giovanni, because it's going up tonight. So they're happy.
they're up. Everybody's like, yeah, yeah. It's like when my mom, I tell of this story all the time. My mom, we were three brothers, and so my mom will make these large meals, and then nobody was saying anything. Everybody was busy with the food. And then she will say, "But you guys don't tell me anything about if a pasta is good or whatever." And my father, being a military person, he spent most of his life in the military, will say, "Well, it's well known that when the troops don't say anything, the food is good."
Food
So
is good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
You
it's
hear a
funny,
lot of the dishes, the forks and knives banging.
right? Exactly. All right. Then stay tuned for the announcement about the webinar.
Yep.
Um, And remember also to buy the Physics of Bitcoin book. I'm going to use this, of course, to advertise my work. I spend
Is
a
it
lot of
live yet or
time.
pre-ordered? I actually ordered or pre-ordered already.
It's pre-order. Yeah, it's right now.
Yeah.
It's pre-order, and you can go in Amazon. In fact, I can show you. Let me see if I can find the page. Uh, let's see. In fact, It's actually number one new release. Let me show you the ad. I spend a lot of time working on this book, so hopefully it's a useful contribution. Let me show you. Uh, Stop sharing. Sharing. Yeah. So you can find it there is also a web page. You can look at the physics of Bitcoin altogether .com. And that page is going to be book market because it's going to be kind of a point of reference. Is going to have live charts. Is going to have for the people who want to go deeper in understanding the Bitcoin power law. There will be free code that people can use to replicate the results. There will be additional modules where you learn the math. So it's a lot of interesting things. And if you go to a website, there is also a link to the book itself. Right now, it's Amazon hot new releases, and it's number
Okay,
one.
great.
So it's nice.
Hey,
Fantastic.
Yeah, and
awesome.
so you can pre-order it. The book will come up April 20, but yeah, if you want, because probably the price will go up a little bit after its launch. So this is kind of a discounted price for whoever pre-orders the book. Um, There is not yet a printed version, but it's just Kindle. But soon we will have also paperback and hardcover. So, and are we guys planning to go to Las Vegas? Are we going to have a
Yes.
presence there? Okay.
We'll be there.
We're going to have a stall, this year.
Yeah.
for sure.
And I will be coming with a bunch of physics of Bitcoin book. So if people want signed
good.
copies, I will be there giving away. And in fact, I will have also, there is even a small section where we talk about different way that you can compound your Bitcoin, and the trading system is mentioned there. So it's relevant.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, we will be here next week again at this time. Thank you so much to follow us.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.